Rationalize each denominator and, if possible, simplify. We have an irrational expression in the denominator. Since square root of 6 is not a perfect square, this is an irrational number, and that's what the directions are asking to eliminate that irrational number and rationalize the quantity in the denominator. Multiplying by square root of 6 would eliminate this radical, but using distributive would just shift it to the second term. Rather, we'll multiply by a form of 1 that will ultimately eliminate that irrational number in the denominator, and to do that, we're going to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. A conjugate is the same first and second term with opposite sign. So that we maintain equality, we'll put that same term in the numerator as the denominator, so that this is a form of 1. Next, we'll multiply these terms together in the numerator. Essentially, we have a binomial times a binomial, so we'll use the FOIL method. 3 times 5, 15 for the first terms. Outer terms multiplied together will be a positive 3 times 2 times the square root of 6. Inner terms, we have a negative 5 times the square root of 6. And last terms, a negative times a negative 2 times the square root of 6 times the square root of 6. All over. In the denominator, first terms multiplied together, we have 5 squared. Our outer term will be a 5 times 2 square root of 6. Our inner term will be a negative 5 times 2 times the square root of 6, which are additive inverses and will cancel one another out. But last terms multiplied together, we can't forget, a negative times a positive is a negative, and we have 2 times the square root of 6 quantity squared, since it's the same being multiplied together. Simplifying further then, in the numerator, multiplying the numbers in front of the radical, we end up with a 6 square root of 6. Nothing with our second or third term. And then the last terms, we have square root of 6 times square root of 6, square root of 36, which is 6, times the 2 will leave a 12. In the denominator, simplifying, 5 squared is 25. And we have each of these terms being squared in the second term. 2 squared is 4. Square root of 6 squared is just like we saw here, which will result in a 6. Simplifying the numerator, we have one more thing that we can combine, the integers. 15 minus 12 leaves a 3. These radical expressions are similar, so we can combine those. 6 minus 5 leaves 1 square root of 6. And in our denominator, if we do our multiplication, we have 25 minus 24, which is 1, leaving a 3 plus square root of 6 over 1, which we'll just leave as 3 plus square root of 6 for our final simplified form, where we no longer have a radical in the denominator.